the mystery that defies science. Hello, my fellow breeders. Welcome back to Canary Santos Costa. Today, we're going to dive into an ornithological mystery that's over 3 centuries old, something that intrigues the most experienced breeders and defies time itself. Get ready to discover the true legend behind one of the most controversial and admired birds in our hobby, the lizard canary. Did you know that the origin of this bird, with its mesmerizing spangles and legendary cap, is still an enigma for historians and breeders? While other canary breeds have their origins well documented, the lizard hides its history behind a veil of theories, legends, and, some would say, closely guarded secrets. It's a story of survival, near extinction, and a beauty so peculiar that it has generated blind passion, and also a certain aversion. In this video, we're going to uncover the most controversial and shocking clues about its origin, going beyond what's told in the books. But so you don't miss anything, stick with us until the end, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. And, of course, leave your like. Let's dive into the past and try to answer the question no one can. Where did the lizard canary really come from? The wild canary, a secret progenitor? The first and most controversial theory about the origin of the lizard canary dates back to the 16th century, when the first canaries from the Canary Islands were brought to Europe. But instead of being bred with their own species, the legend, or is it a breeder's secret, states that the lizard canary resulted from a cross with our humble wild canary, Cerinus cerinus, common in Portugal, Spain, and other parts of Europe. This is a shocking claim, as it goes against the popular belief that most color and form canary breeds derive directly from the island canary, Cerinus canaria. What makes this theory so fascinating are the similarities that its supporters point to. The wild canary's plumage, with its dark streaks and dispersed lipochrome, bears a remarkable resemblance to the lizard's design. Could the spangles and rowings we love so much actually be a genetic inheritance from a bold and experimental cross made by breeders who kept the secret for centuries? The lack of written records of successful hybridizations with other species makes this theory even more intriguing and controversial. Was the lizard canary the result of a unique hybridization, kept secret to protect the breed's exclusivity? It's a question that raises the suspicion that the official story is just the tip of the iceberg. The forbidden hybrid theory. Digging deeper into the hybridization theory, some 19th-century historians and breeders suggested something even more shocking, that the original lineage of the lizard didn't just come from the wild canary, but from a cross with a completely different species, such as the goldfinch, Carduelis pusilla, or the saffron finch, Cicalus flaviola. This idea, while controversial, gained traction due to the complex genetic combinations needed to produce the lizard's unique plumage. This theory is considered forbidden, because at the time, crossing canaries with other species was seen as a bold practice, done by an elite group of breeders who aimed to create something new and exclusive. If the hybridization was successful, the knowledge of how to replicate it would have been a family secret, guarded almost obsessively. The idea that such an ancient and iconic canary might have a genetic heritage from another species raises questions about what purebred really means in the world of ornithology. The mystery is fueled by the remarkable fertility of the saffron finch in crosses, which makes it a viable candidate. Could the unique beauty of the lizard, with its perfect spangles and dense plumage, be the result of a genetic fusion that the official ornithological community preferred to ignore or forget? The truth, if it's ever discovered, could rewrite the history of canary breeds. The hidden clues in ancient manuals. The official history of the lizard canary, as we know it, is full of gaps. The first clear and detailed references only appeared in 1762, in the book The Bird Fancier's Necessary Companion and Sure Guide, and even then, the exact origin remains vague. This lack of documentation raises an intriguing question. Why the silence? Our research into ancient manuals, some of which are rarely seen today, reveals that the absence of records was not accidental. The original lizard breeders, especially in England, were members of an elite group in cities like Norwich and Spitalfields. They had a reason to keep their work a secret. At that time, creating new breeds was a lucrative business, and exclusivity was everything. The knowledge of breeding techniques and genetic secrets were treasures that were not shared. While other canaries were documented in detail for the public, information about the lizard was passed down by word of mouth, from generation to generation, like an almost mystical tradition. This suggests that the secret wasn't just about the origin, but about the method that produced it. The few clues that exist in texts from the time are enigmatic, full of euphemisms and coded language, as if the authors were writing for a closed circle of initiates. The real clues are there, but only for those who know how to look for them. When breeders kept a secret. The history of the lizard canary is a chronicle of well-guarded secrets. While the popular London fancy canary dominated exhibitions and was the crown jewel of breeders, the lizard, with its unique pattern, lived in the shadows, in the hands of a small circle of specialists. Its peculiar beauty, not fitting the elegant standards of the time, was appreciated only by a select group, and they had no interest in sharing their methods. This mystery wasn't by chance. Canary breeding was an extremely competitive market, and for breeders, the exclusivity of their lineage was their greatest asset. The lizard canary was the result of years of work, risky crosses, and meticulous selection. Its formula, if one ever existed, was an industrial secret. The idea that the lizard canary was a secret among breeders is supported by historical texts that mention its rarity in public exhibitions before the late 18th century. It wasn't that they didn't exist, rather, they were kept away from the public eye. The community preferred to protect its innovation rather than showcase it. This mindset of secrecy suggests that the breed's origin is much more than the simple evolution of a bird. It's the story of a community that guarded its greatest achievement closely, making its history a legend. The arrival in London. Coincidence or a plan? The official story places the lizard canary in England in the 16th century, introduced by Huguenot refugees. But was it a mere coincidence, a bird carried by exiles, or part of a more audacious plan? The most controversial theory suggests that its arrival in London was not random. Instead, it was a strategic move by breeders to distance themselves from the London fancy canary, which dominated the market. The London fancy was the darling of the exhibitions, but the lizard's breeders realized they could create a new breed with an aesthetic so different it would be incomparable. They bet on the exclusivity of its design, a mosaic of spangles that looked like a living work of art. The gamble was risky, but it paid off, establishing a separate lineage and a community of breeders dedicated exclusively to this bird. This idea of a planned arrival raises the question that the lizard's initial popularity was carefully managed. Rather than a mere companion bird, it was promoted as an elite product, a status symbol and a breeding project that required a level of knowledge and dedication that few possessed. Its history in London, far from being a tale of humble exiles, might be the story of a silent ornithological revolution. The rival that almost wiped it out. The lizard canary's history almost came to a surprising and tragic end. It was nearly wiped out by its own rival, the London fancy. While lizard breeders maintained a closed circle, London fancy breeders were a dominant force at exhibitions, and their bird was the epitome of what society at the time considered perfect. The market, competitions, and public attention were all focused on the London fancy. This overwhelming popularity had a devastating consequence. With the rise of the London fancy, many lizard breeders were forced to abandon the breed or cross it with other canaries to remain competitive. The number of purebred lizard canary specimens began to decline drastically. The final blow, which almost led to its extinction, came from the world wars. The economic hardships and food shortages during the First and, especially, the Second World War led many breeders to abandon the hobby. The lizard canary, already in decline, became one of the greatest victims. This part of the story is a shocking warning about how popularity and trends can destroy a genetic heritage. The lizard's fight for survival wasn't against a predator, but against indifference and a preference for a more popular rival. The lizard's legend is, in part, the story of how it managed to survive its own obsolescence. The generation that rescued the legend. The lizard canary was on the brink of extinction, but what saved it wasn't chance. It was the passion and determination of a group of breeders. The rescue story begins in 1945, with the formation of the Lizard Canary Association, LCA. A desperate but heroic act. Led by visionaries like Robert H. Yates, these breeders didn't just band together to save a breed. They started a movement. The plan was audacious and had a controversial twist. To prevent speculation and ensure that the few remaining pure specimens weren't lost, they enforced a strict policy. Experienced breeders were advised not to sell their flocks for up to 3 years, except to other members of the association. This exclusivity policy might sound drastic today, but it's what allowed the breed's genetic heritage to be safely preserved and rebuilt, away from the eyes of opportunists. The rescue was a collective and surprising effort. The magazine cage and aviary birds played a crucial role, giving a voice and visibility to this endeavor, which solidified the community. Instead of hiding, the now united lizard breeders brought their struggle public, proving that the breed's value was much more than just its beauty. It was proof that dedication and community can reverse what seems to be an inevitable fate. The magical pattern that changed history. What makes the lizard canary so legendary, beyond its troubled history, is its most iconic feature, its feather pattern. To the inexperienced breeder, it might seem like just a pattern of feathers. But to an expert, it is a masterpiece of nature, with a history of its own. The legend says that this pattern, with its perfectly aligned spangles, wasn't valued at first, being seen as a flaw. However, a small group of rebellious breeders saw a unique and revolutionary beauty in the pattern. They insisted that this plumage, with its complex combination of eumelanin and lipochrome, was not a mistake but rather the central point of its beauty. This was a controversial idea that challenged the exhibition's status quo, which valued smooth and uniform feathers. The magic of the lizard lies in how the eumelanin, the dark pigment, disperses irregularly, creating a mosaic effect that is genetic and completely exclusive to the breed. The obsession with this pattern, particularly with the famous cap on its head, is what made it so special and what generated its community of faithful followers. The pattern is not just a characteristic, it is the very identity of the breed, its visible genetic code. It is proof that beauty can be found where you least expect it, and that the stubbornness and vision of a few breeders can change the history of a breed forever. The hidden truth finally revealed? After centuries of mystery, theories, and guarded secrets, the question remains, has the truth about the lizard canary's origin finally been revealed? The answer, surprisingly, is both yes and no. Yes, because modern science, through genetic studies, suggests that the lizard canary is, in fact, a breed purely derived from the island canary, Cerinus canaria. Its plumage pattern, which was so speculated to be the result of hybridization, is a natural genetic mutation that manifested and was selected by breeders. It is proof of human artificial selection capabilities and how a unique characteristic can be fixed and perfected over generations. But, and here lies the no, this scientific discovery does not negate the legend. The lizard story is not just about its genetics, it's about its journey. It's the story of a bird that almost vanished due to its uniqueness, of breeders who guarded its secrets, and of a community that came together to save it. The lizard's beauty is the result of a mutation, but its legend is the result of a passion. And it is that passion that, ultimately, makes its story so fascinating and immortal. The scientific truth gives us the origin, but the legend gives us the meaning. If you enjoyed delving into this mystery, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Leave your like if this story fascinated you and share the video on your social media so that more breeders can learn about the legend of the lizard canary.